Hey world, how are you doing? It's Sunday afternoon, the weather's not very nice, and I'm doing what I usually do at the weekend, which is the same as what I do during the week, which is working. I've got a nice cup of tea, and I am finishing reworking one of my coasters. I had a commission last week for a set of 5 coasters, which was great. I love getting commissions on coasters. I love it when someone says, I really like that, but can I have it in these colours, because I want it to match my home decor. And because I have lots of ready-made coasters and lots of spare fabric, usually I have the colours that the people want. But for this particular set, I had to pull out a few coasters that I'd already made and take them apart to get some of the fabric out, because it was a very particular colour. So I've spent the rest of the week after I finished doing those coasters for that customer just reworking the leftovers of the ones that I cobbled. So I'm just going to just sew and talk, really. July's been a really strange month. It's been slightly more busy. I've been, as well as like my usual selling on Etsy and my website and doing stuff for YouTube, a couple of months ago I started trying to sell things on eBay. Now, I haven't been an eBay seller for a long time, but I do buy stuff from there, and I do like the website. So what I've been really doing is pulling out stuff that I own that I don't want anymore. So I'm having a declutter with eBay. So I've sold quite a lot of clothes that I've been hanging on to because I like them, but I haven't worn them in years. And I developed these weird emotional connections to clothes that I will never ever wear again, but I like looking at. And there comes a time where you just have to say, you know what, this has to go. So I've been listing a few things. It's been a bit hit and miss. I think one of the main problems with selling on eBay is the postage, because someone might have a very focused budget of something. Let's say it's something that's hard to sell, like a pair of shoes. For some reason, shoes do not sell well on eBay. I've got loads of pairs of shoes I'll never wear again, cannot shift them. And if I put them up for, say, £4, and let's say I do postage in with that, well, the postage for a pair of shoes, like second-hand recorded delivery, which is the cheapest secure method of posting that you can do, really, here in the UK, I might as well just give away the shoes, because there's also the listing fees and the selling fees for eBay. So I either have to put the price of the item up more. So let's say I have to put £6, sell a pair of shoes for £6 just to cover the postage and the fees, and that doesn't mean I make any money out of it. So I have to put them up for £8 just to make a couple of quid. And no one will pay £8 for a second-hand pair of shoes, even if they're good shoes. So I end up listing them for £3 or £4 and then adding the postage on top. But people are very reluctant to spend on shoes. I would have thought that a well looked after, almost new pair of second-hand shoes would have done better than that, but for some reason they don't. And I think that eBay buyers are, I don't know, I don't think they impulse buy. I think they're a very tough market. So it's been a bit hit and miss. I've made a bit of money, and I've also sold a few of the vintage items that I also had for sale in my Etsy store. Things that have been on there for ages, because as we know, selling on Etsy is just so hard at the moment. So I thought I'd shove them onto eBay as well, and I've sold some of them. So that's great, because that means I now don't have to relist them on Etsy, and I've made some space and some money. So it's been hit and miss, but it's been good for just being productive, because things are all over the place at the moment. I've been looking at recruitment websites and seeing what other jobs are out there, because I need to fill a financial gap. It's not a massive one, you know, a nice little part-time job would do the job, but it's really hard to find part-time work doing the sort of thing that I do. And I don't mean this, my background is in secretarial, but it's hard to find a part-time job that is reasonably local. People want full-timers, and I am relatively near Manchester, so all the work seems to be in Manchester, and I don't want to commute into Manchester. I used to do that. I hate commuting. It's a waste of my life. Parking in Manchester is a joke. If I get on the train, it's going to cost me more money. I've already paid for the car. I might as well use it. And we don't have any trains here. So I'm trying to find something that's local, that's either a short car journey or a walking distance away. And these aren't the towns for finding jobs like that, or I think any jobs. Most of the jobs I've seen online are for things that I can't do, like social care, teaching, that sort of thing. A lot of the secretarial work I've seen is very specialised. It's medical secretarial. There's also legal. I don't have any experience of either of those, and they do want you to have experience. And I've been out of the job market now for... The last time I did a secretarial job was in 2015, when I first moved up to the Manchester area. So it's been a while. And to be honest with you, one of the reasons I set up my business was to get out of doing that kind of work. I didn't want to work in that anymore. I did it for a long time, and it was only ever supposed to be a stopgap, and I did it for 17 years. As this is what happens. You take a job because you think it's just going to fill a gap, and you're not spending half your life there. A, because time goes fast, and B, because you just come to rely on the money. But I have my tenancy renewal for my flat coming up probably early next month, so probably in just 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm really worried about what the rent rise is going to be. I had a rise last year, but I could cope with it. This year, with a mixture of price of everything going up and business going down, I now had a bigger gap to fill, and I'm really concerned about if the rent goes up by more of a percentage than it did last year. I'm worried that I'm going to have to move out, and if I have to move out, I won't find anywhere else to live, because this is really cheap here. But I have a very small budget, and that will mean me having to put my business into storage and having to move back down south to my parents, which will cheer them up immensely. And so I'm not sure what to do. So I've got myself on all the mailing lists, the job alerts for a lot of these recruitment agencies that do secretarial, and I'm just going to see what I can get. This was a job I should have done at the beginning of the year, or really I should have done it last year. I decided to focus on other things that were more business related, like starting the website, starting the YouTube channel, getting good at video editing and all that sort of thing, so that I had those skills for my business. But of course that takes time. You know, you don't become an overnight success on YouTube or make extra sales just because you shoved in a few new videos. It takes time to get that kind of traction. So of course that hasn't made any difference yet. So I really need preferably temporary secretarial jobs just to fill the gap. I'd be quite happy working in like a temp job for someone who's off sick for a week or 2 weeks, just desk filling, typing up documents, organising meetings, that sort of thing, and then I'm gone again. And that's what I always used to do. I made that into a career. But secretarial jobs have changed a lot since I was doing it, and you don't have that high turnover of emergency staffing. And of course everyone's working from home now, so you know, if you have a day when you're feeling a bit off, you can just work from home. It's like no one needs sick cover. It's a really difficult one. I mean, maybe it is still out there and I just need to talk to these agencies and see what's really going on. I will I have a few more to register my CV with, which I shall do probably tomorrow now that I've got stuck into this. But it's not the direction I wanted to go in, although I always said that this was a backup skill that would help me through if I got really stuck. You know, I could type, I can answer a phone, reluctantly. I can use most of the Microsoft Office suites, even though I'm not that up to date with the technology. I also learn pretty quick. Most of the computer things that I used to know how to do, I picked up purely from just being in the jobs. You know, you didn't get trained in advance. They sat you in front of a computer and you got on with it. And if you're relatively good at picking up new software, then you'll be okay. But I don't think that a lot of places are that tolerant anymore. They want you to come in, get on with the job, and that's it. And some of the jobs are appallingly paid. I've seen some secretarial jobs that are below their minimum wage, so I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, so it's a weird market. I didn't want to have to go back into the work market. It seems like an absolute minefield out there at the moment. But it's a fallback, and I don't need much of a fallback. The way things are looking, I'm probably going to be about £4,000 short paying my bills this year, unless by some miracle work picks up. So, you know, £4,000 over what's left of the year, which is just under half a year, isn't an awful lot of work. You know, I wouldn't have to do a lot to fill that gap and break even, and then start again next year. But of course I don't know what my rent increase is going to be, or how other things are going to change. The world is a very murky place at the moment. So it's really frustrating, and it's, you know, I don't usually worry about these things, but I've started to get a bit stressed out. My sleep patterns have been a bit weird. I've been waking up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning thinking about job vacancies. That's the first thing I thought about when I woke up. And there were a couple of nights ago when I couldn't sleep because in my head I was mentally making a plan for what happens if the rent goes up too much. I was thinking about, right, so if I get a storage unit, XXX can go in the storage unit, these items need to go to charity shops, this stuff I can get rid of, can somebody look after this for me, because I have loads of like house plants and stuff and I don't want to just throw everything in the bin, because I won't be able to take everything with me. So I've had a lot of that on my mind as well, and it's just really, really stressful, and it messes around with your creativity as well. And I am sure I am not the only one out there feeling like this. I'm sure lots of you, particularly those of you who, like me, are living on your own and don't have the financial backup perhaps of other people in the house who also have incomes. That's one of the biggest challenges, is there's no one to fall back on here. There's no way of kind of, you know, swings and roundabouts with things. There's nothing extra going on. So that's really what it's like. How are you getting on out there? Are you finding those extra jobs if you need them? Were you hoping to leave a full-time job and start turning your side hustle into a proper job, and now you've had to stop? I'd love to know what's going on out there. It's really hard to find YouTube channels where people are talking really honestly about this sort of thing, and that's the stuff I'm interested in, because when you live alone and you work from home as well, you end up in this kind of weird bubble where you don't really know what's going on in the world, and you rely on social media to give you an idea. So you go onto YouTube and you see all these wonderfully polished, enthusiastic videos about how wonderful people's lives are and how amazing their Etsy businesses are and all this. And you know it's not true, but you need to see the physicality of it not being true to validate that you're not the only one in an unpredictable situation. So I do find the odd channel, and when I do find them, I cling on to them, because it's really hard to find a channel that's really honest about what it's like being self-employed, and especially in, you know, perhaps industries like mine, when you're creative, it comes with a whole other myriad of issues and challenges, as I'm sure you know. And that's what I like about just sitting here and doing this, what looks like very monotonous sewing, is that it's quite calming compared to some of the other stuff that goes on. I can just sit here and look out of my window, which is behind the camera there, and just see the world go by. It's raining, and it's really windy, it's turned really cold. I've drunk a lot of tea today to keep me warm. And that's it really. There's not really a lot going on this week. I suppose my next update will be what's happened with the rent. And what my next plan is. It might be that I just have to swallow the rent issue and go all out to find a job to replace it as I go, and just go back into work mode. It's weird because there's like several ideas running around in my head as to what could happen, and it's hard to plan when you don't really know what's actually going on. So I have to wait, I think it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks to find out what happens, and I'll just keep on with the job hunt, and maybe something will come up. But I hope that your mid to end July ends on a positive note, and hope your month ends on a positive note. Gosh, the kids break up from school next week, so the streets are going to be busier. Everywhere's going to be busier. And of course the rain's back, so and that might be because the kids are going to be on holiday soon. But hey ho, I think that's probably going to be my update for today. There wasn't a whole lot to say, it was just I wanted to get some things out my system. It's actually quite good for for my brain actually, just to get it out from rolling around inside my head and just get it out onto something like this. And I hope that you're all okay out there, and that things are moving in the right direction for you. Joy of July!